Putting it all together, the problem-solving model. Eric Holt, an attorney at Google headquarters in Mountain View, California, said the sales and legal teams were not seeing eye to eye. There was disagreement over what we should offer, how much risk to take, whether to concede points, how the negotiation should be conducted, he said. It's a common problem in many organizations. The legal department protects against risk. The sales department brings in the money, so the lawyers put in tough clauses to protect intellectual property and other company assets. The sales department wants the deal done fast for payment, work out the fine legal points later. Arguments ensue. Things take longer. Sometimes customers complain. But Google, the world's foremost brand, is about solution. So the participants in my workshops there embraced the idea of a problem-solving model. In one of the workshops I taught, Eric decided to play the role of a sales rep doing a role reversal exercise. He used the process that will be described in this chapter. Eric found that the basic issues between legal and sales were not enough trust, not enough communication, disagreement over standards, not as much joint preparation. I was shocked how quickly my allegiances changed, Eric said. Before the exercise, he could easily argue the lawyer's side, but quickly he found himself disputing the lawyers who were role-playing him. He said his ability to deal with sales and appreciate their perspective increased considerably after that. He and the other attorneys he'd talked to now attempt to explain more to sales up front about why certain things might be needed. And the lawyers make great efforts to loop sales in throughout the negotiation process, including collaborating on client calls. It doesn't mean you have to give in more, Eric said, but the outcomes are generally better now. The best negotiators are problem solvers. They find new, creative, and better ways to solve both their problems and other people's problems. They turn problems into opportunities more often than most people do, and that is the key to negotiation success. Because you can't meet your goals unless you can identify and solve the specific problems standing in the way. Over a 20-year period, I have developed a comprehensive problem-solving models. Thousands of my students and clients have used it all over the world. It helps structure negotiation and provides a checklist of tools. I have included it in this chapter and in a wallet card downloadable from my website. It organizes the travel strategies and supporting tools and puts everything together in one place to help you better meet your goals throughout your life. The Getting More model, I call it the four quadrant model in my negotiation class, is essential to getting more. It provides an organizing principle in preparing effectively for negotiations. You can use it by yourself or you can use it with a team of people. The four-quadrant model is the most powerful tool I have seen in negotiations, said Kenneth Odogu, an executive who took one of my courses. It is useful in all kinds of situations. Kenneth said that he used it, for example, to solve a negotiation among Swiss, Israeli, and Nigerian firms of production and distribution of cosmetics in Africa. It greatly assisted us in setting the stage for the negotiation and providing a watertight solution that was acceptable to all. First, here it is, the Getting One model, also known as the four-quadrant negotiation model. Quadrant 1, problem and goals. 1. Goals, short and long term. Problems in reaching your goals. Parties, list, decision maker. Counterpart, third parties. What if no deal? Worst case. Preparation, time. Relative preparation. Who has more information? Quadrant 2, situation analysis. Needs and interests of both parties. Rational, emotional, shared, conflicting, unequally valued. So, perception. Pictures in the head of each party. Role reversal. Culture, conflict, trust. 8. Communication style, relationship. Standards. There's norms. 10. Re-examine goals. Why say yes, why say no for both parties. Quadrant 4. Action. Best option, priorities, deal breakers, giveaway. Who presents, how and to whom. Process, agenda, deadlines, time management. Commitment incentives, especially for them. Next step, who does what? The 12 strategies on which the model is based. Goals are paramount. It's about them. Emotional payment. Each situation is different. Be incremental and treat unequally valued items. Use their standards. Be transparent and ethical. Communicate and frame. Find the real problem and embrace differences and make a list. The 12 strategies are the building blocks for the Getting One model. You will not need to use all the strategies and the entire model in every negotiation. You look at the principles and figure out which item to use, based on your goals and the other party in the situation. For a big negotiation, you might go through each step laboriously. It's best to outline each step. An oft-quoted maxim in Hollywood is, if you can write your idea on the back of my business card, you don't have a clear idea of what you want to say. Let's go through the Getting One model step by step. Step 1 and 2 comprise about half of what is important. Figuring out your goals and figuring out the real problem in meeting your goals. The goal is what you want at the end of the negotiation that you don't have now. The problem is what is preventing you from getting to your goals. Your first attempt at a goal might be, I want to go to Chicago for a job interview. Your problem or roadblock might be flights. have been cancelled due to snow. However, when you finish going through the model, you might realize that your real underlying goal is not that you want to go to Chicago for a job interview. It is, I want a job at X firm, and the real problem is they need more information on me to make a decision. This will open up all sorts of other options that should enable you to find creative ways to deal with the fact that flights have been cancelled. Maybe a phone interview would do, or a more detailed resume, or other information you might prepare for them today. Are there other things that would show that you are a creative problem solver? A long time ago, I was accepted to Columbia Journalism School, the best journalism school in the country, and my long-time goal. The next day, I was offered a job at Newsday, one of the best newspapers in the country. I called the dean of admission at Columbia and asked what I should do. He said, "You idiot, you go to Columbia to get a job in New Jersey." I went to Newsday. As far as the dean was concerned, I had the wrong goal. You can start your analysis with your goal, or if you don't know what your goal is, you can start with what you think the problem is, but you need to get to the root problem in each case. You do that by continuing to ask yourself why until you run out of answers. For example, my car is broken is not, in and of itself, a problem if you've got two cars. So a better problem statement would be, I have no way to get to work today, or I'm going to be late getting to work today because my only car is broken. The reason to clearly state the root problem is that your goal in this specific instance is not to fix my car. It is to get to work. Stating the problem in this way opens up other options. Taking the bus, calling a taxi, calling a friend, taking the day off, and so forth. A clear statement of the problem will help you to come up with clear options of how to fix it. Step 3 is to identify the key parties in the negotiation. You must identify the decision maker as well as the people with the direct influence of the decision maker. If you leave any required parties out, they may become upset because you didn't consult them. Are there hidden third parties who might become involved? Step 4 helps you figure out what happens if you can't make a deal. Some people like to use the acronym BATA, or Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. But this term too often leads people to be too willing to walk away without achieving their goal, because they focus on the best option. If you want to review walk away options, use WATNA, or worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. It shows the risk of not achieving an agreement. Better yet is to think about all the other alternatives, from best to worst, and the likelihood of achieving each. You want to be realistic. Another less useful term is bargaining range, described as the range between the most the buyer will pay and the least the seller will accept. Good negotiator can change the bargaining range for example, by trading items of unequal value. They can focus on intangibles, come up with creative framing, and use some of the other creative tools from this book to change the situation. Most people assume the bargaining range is fixed and centers on money. That isn't true. It's only a starting point. Say a buyer will pay up to $325,000 for a house and the seller won't accept less than $300,000. The initial bargaining range is $300,000 to $325,000. That will change if the seller agrees to a deferred payment on part of the price, offers to help finance the loan or through in the future. Step 5. Preparation cannot be stressed enough. If you are not prepared, you are like a amateur race car driver in the Indianapolis 500. You will encounter more crashes. If the other side is unprepared, they may be overly emotional, less focused on their goals, less creative, etc. You may have to help them get prepared. You may need to help them calm down. This may seem counterintuitive, but getting more is intended to be a transparent process, not a manipulative one. You can even give a copy of the Getting More model to the other party. If both parties know about the concept of trading items of unequal value, they'll both get more. It may take more time to get them prepared, and you may have to revise your time frame, but it is often the difference between reaching a deal and not reaching one. This does not mean you should give away the store, but you must leave them with something they will be satisfied with today and tomorrow. If not, they will retaliate in some way. If they are an employee, they won't work as hard or as well. Other companies or individuals may try to change the deal, get out of their commitment, or both. If the other party is a hard bargainer and they don't have your needs at heart, you don't have to help them. In that case, knowing how prepared they are will help you decide how to out-prepare and out-maneuver them. A lot of this centers on how much time and effort you are willing to take to collect information about them and the situation. Here is a simple example. You want a discount on a flight. You call an airline agent and they swap you aside. You should realize that they do this kind of negotiation all day long. So if we are going to negotiate with someone like that, you need more than a wing or a player. You have to prepare more. Quadrant 1 sets the stage on which you will negotiate. It helps you develop basic information, a significant part of getting one. However, concerns Quadrant 2 analyzing the situation, that is, the picture in the head of each party. Step 6 comprises needs and interests, broadly, rational and irrational or emotional needs, long-term and short-term needs, shared and conflicting needs, and so forth. Your goals are what you want at the end of the negotiation. Your needs are why you want it. For example, you want to spend the holidays with your family. Your problem is you have to work. Your needs are to make your children happy, give them presents, spend quality time with your family, make a special dinner with your spouse. If you know that your family wants to spend time with you when you're not hesitant, and they care more about spending quality time with you, then various other options open up, including postponing the celebration a few days. The more you know about yourself and the other party, the more needs you can identify, the more you have to trade. Step 7 and 8 are related. Perception refers to how the other person views the world. Use role reversal. What are they thinking and feeling? What are the pictures in their heads? Step 8 refers to how this manifests itself in your conversation or communication with them. What is their style? Are the other person's perception affecting your ability to communicate effectively? Step 9 is about standards. What are their stated standards? What other standards would they accept? After completing quadrant 2, stop and tap stop. Re-examine your goals. Step 10. Why do you think the other person will now say yes or no to your goals? You may have to adjust your goals if your analysis shows them to be unrealistic. By the time you have finished going through quadrant 2, you will have a list of issues to address. You need to develop options to solve them, and then prioritize everything. This brings us to quadrant 3, options and reducing risks. Step 11 consists of brainstorming options, either alone or with your colleagues. Don't let people cavalierly shoot down options they don't like. It will stifle the creative process. Studies show that some of the best, most innovative ideas follow some of the silliest suggestions. Even an ill-formed idea can spark a great idea in someone else. So don't criticize anyone else's idea until everyone runs out of ideas. Write them all down on a piece of paper, whiteboard, or blackboard. Look them over, smart, stupid, contradictory or not. As Nobel laureate Linus Pauling said, the best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. Start with items you can link to other deals or relationships. The more you can do this, the stronger an option will be. A British study in 2006, Why Bad Ideas Are a Good Idea, found empirical evidence that bad ideas prompt creative processes that produce good ideas. Bad is the good news, it suggested, especially in technology. This is exactly opposite to what many people seem to think. Ideas that are different or suboptimal are often criticized when they can be the least for better solution. The next 3 steps 12-13-14 will help you improve your decision-making process in choosing the best options and prioritizing your approaches. Can you reduce the other party's perceived risk by making your personal more incremental? That is, suggest a series of smaller steps which third parties are important both to support the deal or to avoid. Can you frame or package the information in ways that are more persuasive to the other person? Something that gives them a vision, for example, 6 and 6 program. That is, 6 percentage point profit rise in 6 months, or party for smarty. The child gets more party time for good grades. Step 15. The last item in quadrant 3 has to do with improving your alternatives to reaching an agreement or changing the power balance. A powerful third party, for example, can change the balance of how if they join or support you. As noted throughout this book, the use of power in a negotiation is fraught with risk. Seeing a negotiation in terms of gaining power of the other side sets up a conflict situation. If they perceive you as trying to grab power over them, they may well have an emotional response, as in, I don't care if I undermine the negotiation. I'm going to get even with you. Once you play the power card, the relationship is usually over. I can say it enough. While the tools in this book will give you power, they should be used selectively and constructively so that extreme reactions are not provoked. You should be sensitive to the needs of everyone along the way. The last step in quadrant 4, actions, help you pick your best option and turn them into commitment for all parties. Step 16 is picking the best option. These are the ones that the other party will most likely accept, that appear the least risky, that move you toward your goals, that would be supported by third parties, and that create a vision of the future. It is important to decide how to present your proposal, which is step 17. This depends a lot on your audience. Some people need only 2 or 3 lines in an email. Others want a binder. Some want to talk it out face-to-face in a meeting. Others want a Word file. If someone has to go through your proposal in a format unfamiliar to them, it will take energy away from their focus on the proposal. They will become less interested sooner. They may dismiss it for reasons that have nothing to do with the proposed ideas themselves. I once wrote a 109-page memo on environmental liability and property transfers and submitted it to a partner at the law firm where I worked as a summer associate. The partner's assessment was that the memo was too short because it did not include enough case references. Later that summer, I worked for an investment bank. I submitted a 2-page strategy memo on an $800 million merger between two utility companies. The managing director said the 2 pages was too long. CEO would not read more than 1 page. You have to know your audience. Presentation is a more important part of persuasion than most people realize. Next, you need to figure out the process that will be used to consider your proposal. This is step 18. If criteria need to be set by which success will be measured, make sure you are involved in setting that criteria. Using the wrong criteria can hurt in achieving your goals. Step 19 focuses on commitment. It is imperative that you get a commitment from the other person or party in the way that they make a commitment as noted earlier. Otherwise, you will have just wasted your time. Spend the necessary time on this. Are you sure that everyone is fully committed? How do you know? What incentives and penalties are provided for? Many perfectly good negotiations fail to produce the desired results because of poor follow. That is the purpose of step 20. What's the next step? What's the deadline? Who is going to do what? Without these things, people shuffle off and many of the options are forgotten. The more you put yourself psychologically and strategically in the negotiation before it begins, the better off you will be during the negotiation and afterward. In fact, that is what this entire model is about. Learning as much as possible about the negotiation before you get there. I will address conducting the negotiation itself in chapter 16.